Hi, my name is Shany. I'm speaking from Israel, Tel Aviv. I'm an architect and the co-founder of ABCT, an educational planning enterprise. In the next 15 minutes, I would like to point out how urban outdoor learning can become a platform to connect children to their city and enhance their sense of belonging to their habitat. In the future, I believe that urban pedagogy could also serve as a stepping stone to increasing urban activism. But before I begin, I would like to make a short introduction to the unique case of bee in Israel. By 2050, Israel is expected to become the most densely populated country in the Western world. During the last few decades, Israel has been confronting significant challenges. First, Israel's population annual growth rate is 1.6%, much higher than the OECD average, which stands at 0.2%. Second, Israel is a tiny country. The population density is extremely high compared with the OECD and the world average. Children in Israel are almost a third of the population, and again, this percentage is much higher than the OECD average, which stands at almost 20%. And finally, more than 93% of the Israeli population lives in urban areas. Israel is in the midst of an unprecedented construction boom that is changing the face of the country beyond recognition, as you can see. But unfortunately, the issue of public space isn't at the focal point of the public discussion. One way to change this is with the next generation, through the education system. So when considering Israel's unique conditions as described, we found the arena of active partnership of children in urban planning processes the most urgent and relevant issue for bees activity in Israel. Bees' wide range of activities can be described as follows. The educational axis represents the methodology of how we teach, from traditional education in class to active outdoor urban citizenship. And the planning axis represents what we teach, the planning content that ranges from architecture to urban planning. Education that promotes children's urban partnership is much more complex and requires different teaching skills compared with the traditional education where children learn about their city. If we wish to strengthen the connection between children and the city, pedagogical change is required. Having children learning in the city can gradually expose schools and teachers to the built environment and to the city's values. The city can serve not only as a background, it can also serve as a teaching tool. Learning in the city can function as a bridge, a mid-step in between traditional indoor learning and the 21st century pedagogy. I would like to share with you now this experiential project that was the starting point on which we built our urban outdoor pedagogy. The project name was From a School in the City to the City as a School. The main goal was to highlight the concept of public space, to introduce the term and its importance to the school community, both children and teachers. The project took place at Habima Square, probably one of the most iconic squares of Tel Aviv, home to the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra, the National Theatre, and part of the Tel Aviv Museum. The project was launched in cooperation with the Tel Aviv municipality. The main takeaway of that day was that learning occurs everywhere, and that urban space is an endless resource for learning. For example, from the trees we can learn about shading. Using the building facade, we can practice multiplication table. And watching a man riding a bike is an opportunity to learn physics, to learn about walkability, urbanism, and so forth. In terms of education, the main goal of this day was assimilating experiential and place-based learning, expanding the class concept out to the urban space, and experiencing the city as a vast educational, joyful playground, as the classroom of the 21st century, a class that offers stimulating, experiential, multidisciplinary, and relevant learning. The preparation process included several steps, mainly mentoring the educational staff, helping them identify the city's unique resources and implementing their ideas in urban classes. We also undertook workshops with the children in order to expose them to the concept of public space and planning conflicts. On the day of the event, about 100 fourth graders set out for a full outdoor school day in the urban area. Stations were set up throughout the square. In each one, a different teacher gave a specific urban class in her or his field of expertise. The children were divided into small groups. Each group received the map of the square with the stations marked on it. The children navigated independently from one station to another, using the map as their daily syllabus. And I would like to point out a few of these stations, these classes, actually. In language class, children wrote stories about the experience of entering the square from different directions. Role-playing games in drama class, inspired by the characters seen in the square and the nearby theater's costumes exhibition. The music class was inspired by the rehearsals of the Philharmonic Orchestra that took place at the same time. The teacher opened the day listening to sounds and voices in the square, from the early morning bird chirp to midday traffic sounds. In geometry class, the children learned to calculate polygon area by measuring the central garden in the square. In gym class, the children used various elements to explore different possibilities for movement in space. And in urban planning class, the children planned and explored the implications of setting new borders and partitions in the public space. The success of this day was tremendous, both among teachers and children. In light of the positive reactions and the pandemic that came right after, and naturally increased interest in urban outdoor learning, we refined the pedagogical training process and put down 3 basic questions as a framework. Where should the learning take place? What do we teach? And who are the teachers? As for the question where, due to safety and security requirements, we launched the Abima project in a comfortable and well-protected location, but it was far from the children's school and daily environment. Therefore, we launched the following projects in the children's neighborhood. We wanted to strengthen the sense of belonging to their daily environment. During COVID, we witnessed outdoor learning in the neighborhood taking place in different locations. In public gardens, the green spaces, and also in public buildings, let's call them the gray spaces. But as I mentioned before, the idea of the City as a School project was to emphasize the importance of public space. We wanted to mark the city as a powerful educational tool. We wanted to highlight the city as a vast resource for human, physical, technological, and cultural assets. That is why we call the public space the multicolor space. Regarding the question of what we teach, the City as a School project aims to moderate breaking the school's wall and pulling out teaching out to the urban space. Therefore, we support teaching the standard and official curriculum at the beginning. But at the same time, we encourage teachers to use the urban inventory and find the uniqueness of the specific place. We assist the teachers with the great challenge of capturing urban opportunities and framing classes based on the local urban assets. For instance, in this photo, you can see children practicing verb conjugation. The ideas for the verbs are drawn from objects found around. Also, you can see children following the sun's movement by drawing objects' shadows changed over time. As for the question, who are the teachers? At Abima Square, the pedagogical team made a great effort to use the urban assets as their teaching tools. In later projects, the children experienced a wider variety of teachers and teaching methods, like independent exploratory learning, like teamwork and peer learning, and learning from the local community as part of the teaching team. By doing so, we wish to provide a platform for diverse voices and connect the children to the local human assets and knowledge. Here in these pictures, you can see a representative of the municipal urban planning team and a local activist. Both are having an open conversation with the children about their neighborhood. Developing the project of a city as a school is a continuing journey, but already one striking conclusion arises: the interdependency between the city and the education system. The city is a central tool in developing the education system, and the education system is an essential tool in the city's development. Teaching in the urban space is an opportunity to develop educational innovation and pedagogical entrepreneurship. And I would like to mention just a few of those opportunities. Urban outdoor teaching is a great platform to develop advanced teaching and learning skills in the 21st century. Urban outdoor teaching can also promote democratic civil discourse, especially with children. And urban outdoor teaching can also raise the environmental discourse as part of the pedagogical agenda. Teaching in the city is an excellent opportunity to deal with issues of urbanism and sustainability, and to observe, explore, and discuss urban expressions of the climate crisis. So just to conclude, it is true that learning in the city invites many challenges, but also endless opportunities. Thank you.